And a good morning. Here we go. Going to be finding a swimming pool at some point today. It is going to be sunny and hot, 85 degrees. Welcome to the Aired Out Podcast. Pleasure to have you along. I'm JD Green. We have a gorgeous day ahead today. Again, going to be sunny, going to be hot, around 85 degrees. Hey, it's almost the 4th of July. These are great temperatures. I love it. Fly in the Wall Productions bringing you the Aired Out Podcast this morning. Streamed everywhere you get your podcasts and on the web at airedoutvt.com. Is made by Woodland Studios. They did such a nice job. Birthdays today. Steve Stouffer, Amy Hutchins McDonald. We have Laurette Edmonds. Billy Caruth on the list. Chris Bauer, Shannon Ray, Daniel Bowles, Ryan Lucas, all on the birthday list today. Happy birthday, everybody. And a very good morning to some new followers. Sam Els in Rutland, Amy Genovese in Plattsburgh, and Tim Links in Newport. Appreciate your eyes and your ears. Welcome to Aired Out. Deb Phillips with us on a Wednesday morning from the World newspaper. Good morning, Deb. How are you?
Good. How are you, JD?
Doing well. What's out in the world today? What do we look forward to?
Well, we're hoping everyone has a safe and enjoyable 4th of July, and we want to remind people that tomorrow is the festivities for Montpelier's 3rd of July, and then on Friday we have Worcester, Warren, Randolph, and Cabot celebrations. So there's a lot going on, and it looks like weather's going to be nice for Friday.
Cabot,
So,
they always get the little tractors there in the parade. They do such a great job there.
oh yeah, they really do. It's a fun one to go to.
Anything else, Deb, that we should be? I mean, of course, there's a lot. The pages are always packed, but
Um,
we want to give you and Gary kind of an opportunity on Wednesday mornings to just kind of spotlight what to be looking out for in today's paper.
Well, we also have money-saving coupons for July. You can save on oil and filter changes, four-tire changeovers, carpet and flooring, and a whole lot more. And we have our new thrifting, vintage, and consignment marketplace directory in this week's world.
Wow. What's going on with your location here, Deb? Have you guys officially moved in with the Times Argus?
Well, yes, we have. I'm in the process of selling the building. So yes, we have moved in. The location where Times Argus office is behind Domino's in Barry. There's Edward Jones' office and some other offices along there. So people can go in there and place their classifieds or anything like that they need.
And how easy is it to get into advertising?
So easy. So easy. People, if they call us, and we'll, come to see them, they could email us. Either way, we're happy to help people.
Sales at vt-world.com.
Yes,
That's it right there. Thank you, Deb.
that's it. All right.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, JD.
Big hello to Gary, too. We'll see you guys soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
479-2582 if you want to get in touch with the world. But we love, we just love our relationship with them so much. Listen, we also love our relationship with Giroux General Transport. If you want to get out and start seeing the state of Vermont, or maybe in America, if you want to start hitting the roads, Giroux General Transport has another CDL training course that's going to be starting up on Monday, July 7th. You already know, nationwide, the driver shortage is at a critical need. We talk about it all the time. It's currently about 50% of what it was from a decade ago. So the demand has never been higher. Tracy Haynes is ready to take your call, answer your questions. It is not too late if you want to get involved and get signed up for the next CDL course on July 7th, 279-3325. Also want to give a shout out this morning to Locarno's To Go right here in Central Vermont. Tonight the Mountaineers are playing. This is a perfect opportunity for a grab-and-go meal that is deliciously prepared and perfect for anybody or any family that's on the go. Made fresh, made locally, and a new menu every single week. They've got it over at Harrington's store. They've got them over at Green Mountain Community Fitness, Hill Street Market. Sherilyn was just over there grabbing lunch to go the other day. LocarnosToGo.com. Red Sox going to try it again with the Reds tonight, 7-10, after getting rained out last night. Again, the Mountaineers are playing tonight at 6:30 at the ballpark, Recreation Field in Montpelier, Thunder Road. Tomorrow night, there's a lot of stuff going on. This guy sitting next to me has one of the best-looking beards I've seen in a very, very long time. Loudon, welcome to Aired Out. It is a pleasure to have you with me. And thank you so much for being here with Sweethearts and Heroes. This is number 2 for you, right, I think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's my third time on, number 2 being a normal guest. I came with Tom one time.
With Tom, yes.
But thank you very much for having me down.
It's not always easy getting word in edgewise when Tom's here.
No, dude, he's very passionate about this work for sure, as we all are, So, and he's the science guy. He knows all the stuff about he does the reading, knows all the studies and stuff behind it. So I learned so much by just listening to him, honestly, in terms of the work we do and kind of the reasons why and what we're actually seeing. Because a lot of times we see the patterns and I don't actually understand truly what's going on under the hood until he kind of says, "See, did you see that? Did you see that?" And then once you're kind of turned on to it, you kind of see it everywhere, and then you can kind of make predictions and stuff about. And that helps me in my role. With Sweethearts and Heroes for sure.
He's done that with me too. I mean, it's kind of it's just going to happen no matter what. When you're involved with Tom, you're gonna see the results of the impacts that Sweethearts and Heroes is having. How long have you been with Sweethearts and Heroes? Like, what's your story? How did you get involved?
Yeah, most definitely. I've been involved for a few years now, maybe probably. I think I started messing around doing some smaller video projects with them, for them, more like kind of video assets, if you will, not necessarily boots on the ground stuff. Probably about 4 years ago, I would say. But over the past 2 years, I would say, I've been kind of much more in studio working on courses and content. And then this past year, most of my time has been spent at schools and stuff, kind of boots on the ground, filming, documenting, and then kind of coming back and cutting them up, putting it to different edits or mini documentaries and stuff.
How much, what's the relationship between how much time you're spending behind the camera versus how much time you're spending with the kids in these schools that you've been to?
Yeah,
you've got to do both.
Yeah, that's such an interesting question because, I feel like I'm the only person on the team who can kind of hide behind a camera as well. And I don't mean hide as in shy, don't want to talk to the kids, but I can be a fly on the wall with my camera and still catch some cool intimate things, and I can also prompt them from behind the camera and interact with them and kind of joke with them and jest with them from behind the camera. So it's kind of like a weird thing. I have a foot in each realm. I'm never really in front of the students when we're in schools, and what I mean by that is I'm not like leading a class yet or anything like that. I'm usually involved with them in the rooms, documenting and interacting with and interviewing. I interview a lot of students as well. So it's just this kind of like interesting, it almost feels like if you had invisibility and you were kind of like in rooms and stuff and moving around, and they're cool with cameras being around. You get the kids who look straight in the camera, but then they snap out of it and they do some other stuff, It's more, and you know what's crazy is a lot of them always ask, it's clearly a video camera. It's a clear video camera, but they say, take my picture, take my picture, take my picture. It's just an interesting thing I've noticed.
Wow. And these kids they're just going about their lives and just trying to be as normal and as natural as possible. And if you are there with a camera, you've got to be approachable. You've got to be friendly with them. You've got to have some personality, some fun to bring out what it is that they're doing or saying and capturing that moment. Tom said to me, we were talking about the importance of you. It's one thing to go into these schools and have these relationships and this connectivity with kids and staff. But it's a whole nother thing to be able to capture that capture it accurately, and bring it to the eyes and the ears of people that are outside of the school to promote the message of what Sweethearts and Heroes is doing.
Of course, there's so many layers to that what you touched upon there. Like when you started, you were saying, it's important to kind of have like a kind of a personality, even as a cameraman. Yeah, 100%. A lot of these students, when they look at the camera, I think initially they're looking for a reaction. So I play with them. I'll like make like a crazy face back to them just to see what they do.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And a lot of the time I've got the camera rolling in slow motion. So like some of the smiles and laughter they get from me being silly, it's kind of like the school photographer with the clown nose, kind of like, you know what I mean? There's a sense of personality. There's a relationship that I think I'm building through not saying anything, just facial expressions and kind of like they're looking at me. I didn't instigate it. I'm just playing back with them. It's interesting. But then as they get older, they're less likely to look directly into the camera socially. And what you're saying about documenting and capturing it, yeah, I think it's important because, one, to get the message out there, right? That's like the obvious thing for Sweethearts and Heroes. That's what we want to do. But also I think for these students, the fact that they feel like whatever they're saying is like legit, and they have people who want to hear it and who want to do it, and then who want to go back and take that information, whether it be their interview or something they've worked on, chop it up, put it into an edit, and then we put it on all our platforms, YouTube, Facebook and stuff. Being able to have their grandmother share it, have their sister saying, check out my little sister, she's doing some good stuff. I think that's a whole nother level that it's not necessarily like a Sweethearts and Heroes goal, but I think what it does to the child who's the subject of this video or the student is it just reinforces like hard work and just trying to be yourself and trying to like stand up for something that you feel valuable. It's empowering, I think, and when they can be celebrated on their social medias for that by family members and friends and people of their town, like we love it. We watch certain towns really do the work for us by supporting their own, and they're proud of like what's going on at their schools and stuff. So I don't know. I just think there's so much to having it captured, not just for us, but also for the student themselves.
Have you must have had moments where you're like, and maybe serious moments where you're seeing some emotion come out in some of these students where you must be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting this right now.
Yeah. I was told capturing someone's honest reaction on camera, something like when when they have an epiphany or have a light bulb moment go off in their head, and there's that kind of moments of silence where they're like connecting the dots in their head and they're kind of rewinding their path and how they got there and stuff. Like, that's kind of priceless in my opinion to catch on camera, because it's such a rare human experience. You know, those things are what make up like our insight and our different things. So when you can capture that, you know,
a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time and frankly, luck.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And also, I think a lot of the questions that get asked and kind of like getting people to, at first when I started doing interviews, I'm not a good interviewer. I'm not saying that, but in the beginning, I really wasn't. And I would like ask them like questions that could be answered with a yes or a no. And it was, and dude, it's like, okay, dropped. And so there is kind of an art to it. I mean, you know all about that, you know what I mean? And just kind of getting someone to open up and how questions are themed and stuff. But yeah, no, there's a little bit of luck. I mean, you definitely, an honest experience of like some of these reactions and moments cannot be engineered. You know, they can kind of be like, the scene can kind of be set and you can kind of be prompted, but the horse is not going to drink the water. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you have to catch it. So yeah.
You talk about catch. You have to catch it. A couple of weeks ago, I was on the air making fun of myself. We had quite a laughing moment about this massive fish that I caught while I was out in my kayak, and it was, I swear, it was huge.
Really?
I mean, G's making fun of me saying, you know, that it was a whale and all this, but it was a massive fish.
Really?
It was like way too big for the lake that I caught it in.
Yeah.
And I'm working it, so excited, so happy, and I get right up to the kayak and snap the line.
Oh, come on.
Have you had an experience like that with a camera?
I mean, there are some things where it's like, I'm trying to think of something that might be like, you know, it depends.
With sweethearts or in heroes or not.
Well, I'm just thinking about this because, like, you know, from my position, you know, I'm capturing something. I'm trying to build the story in my head. I'm thinking in the future. I'm like, okay, perfect. This will be perfect. Maybe they'll, for example, let's just say something. They're doing an obstacle at a community day. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a race course. Let's say I'm following this kid through, and they're doing so good, and you know, here's their big moment, and I'm like, yes, this is gonna be perfect. They're gonna crush it, and then they fail, right? So like originally, my original story, it failed. Like they didn't make it.
Right.
Well, that's life though. So what I did capture, like in your instance, the fish got away. You don't have a fish, but I still got something. I got the failure fish.
Yeah.
Which almost might be more compelling than had they succeeded.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
It's kind of humbling as like, I'm not a filmmaker necessarily, but I make videos.
Yeah,
Okay. You
right.
know, we all, and this is probably for life too, we all think we know how it's going to turn out and how we want it to turn out. However, it's not always that way. So there is an element of surrender and kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
And seeing, well, you know, this is what I did capture.
Sure.
Dude, this is another thing. When you go and you're in the heat of the moment, right? You're adjusting the exposure. If you're outdoors, you've got ND filter on, which is just, you know, just to kind of darken the image without changing your shutter speed and your aperture and your frame rate and all this stuff that plays into it, okay? And you have to manually focus, and you're worried about your focal length. There's so much. Your ISO, so it's not grainy footage. Okay, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of science behind it. You get a great moment, everything lines up, the stars align, boom, boom, boom. I can't believe I captured that.
Yeah.
You go back in, you're like, man, that was out of focus, probably unusable. I was focused on the trees instead of the person's emotion, their face. Ooh, that's a tough
that's
fish.
gotta
That's
hurt.
like my equivalent of the fish getting away, I think.
You know, I almost had my GoPro mounted to my kayak that day, which I would have, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a friend say to me, "Can you imagine?" Which I didn't. I didn't have the GoPro that day. But I had a friend say, "Can you imagine if the GoPro was on the front of the kayak shooting you, your face,
Yeah.
when this monster fish
this whale
was this blue whale snapped the line and was gone. And I was like, yeah. And then they were like, do you remember what your reaction was? And I was like, yes, I do. I mean, there's the line just waving in the wind, the broken fish line, and I was like,
come on.
Stunned. And I was like, yes, I wish I had that on my GoPro so I could show my daughter that sometimes in life something's going to happen that you listen. I had the damn fish.
You got to bring a net next time.
I had the net. I was fumbling with the net, but everything was 100% guarantee. And then it was in a flash. In a half a second, it was gone.
It's not guaranteed.
But I would love to show my kid.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Speaking of GoPros, you got started like you were a young guy. You were snapping on GoPros, I'm guessing, when you were skiing and snowboarding and all that stuff.
Yeah, my grandma got me GoPro Hero 1, first GoPro ever.
Wow.
Thing was a tank, dude. Thing was a tank. It came with like this plastic case that you could not hear a thing out of. It looked like a mini submarine, dude. It had screws in it. It was like, it looked like.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've got the 13.
Yeah. It came a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from that first one. Yeah, so basically, I guess I would mess around with those, and like Sony had this little handy cam thing, just like a mini little camcorder. I would mess around with that. And I think my parents, even before, so I think filmmaking, not film. I keep saying filmmaking.
Well, you are
but
a
you know what I'm saying,
though. But you are though, man. You're a creator.
Yeah, sure. My grandmother, my other grandmother, she used to always have some kind of big rig on her shoulder that she would film with, apparently. Filmed a ton of home videos.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see. And she did quite well with it. And I'm impressed with the technology of that camera because it looked pretty good. I mean, it's an old footage, VHS footage, but it looked pretty good.
It was an old camcorder?
It was something massive. I don't know what it was. It was huge, but it
Did you buy it at Sears?
Probably, actually. Probably ordered it. I have no idea, but we were watching home videos the other day, and I asked her, I said, what did you record this on, and who trained you? Because you're actually doing quite well with this. No, but I guess I think it's just, I mean, it's cool to check stuff out, and I was into action stuff, I was into skateboarding and snowboarding and fun things. I mean, we're in Vermont. We're driving up today. I'm looking at the mountains. I'm like, this is such a chill place, like completely opposite of the weather we're experiencing now. It's beautiful. It's got some beautiful clouds out, some beautiful hills, very green, but you know what it looks like in the winter. And we're kind of blessed to have both worlds because I don't know, I feel like the youth, at least in my case in Vermont, like snowboarding, skateboarding, not many people get to do that, I'd say.
Yeah.
Have both,
Yeah. Right.
So it's that plus a little technology, just playing, right? And reviewing and kind of making things with your friends.
Sure.
And didn't know how to do any graphics or anything, so you'd like write titles on cardboard and hold it up and like film it in sequence. And it's just like how I know what I kind of want it to look like. Reverse engineer it. How can I do that with my knowledge?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's some kind of between that and the literal skateboarding and snowboarding themselves, the resiliency of like falling down and getting back up.
Yes.
Scraping your knee. Do I pack it up for the day and go tend to my wound, or do I try it again and try to conquer something?
Yeah.
Like there's these battles, and then also the creativity element within those, and then of the actual recording itself, like and. Did you get my shot? You just finally landed. Did you get it? There's element of trust. No, the lens cap was on. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
My little girl was ripping around on her dirt bike the other day, and I ran in the house, grabbed the chest harness with the GoPro, and came out and put it. As soon as I had that thing, I'm bringing her in, go into neutral, I clip it on her, and as soon as she knew that camera was on, she was like,
yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And she's like, Dad, what if I crash? And I'm like, you got the camera on. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yes.
That'd be a change of plans, but it would be equally awesome, though.
So you've got a double. You went to school. You got a double major.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know I was gonna do anything with it. I was undecided when I went to college. I thought I wanted to do something with music because I liked recording music. I was not a musician, still am not. I kind of taught myself how to play guitar and bass and like a little bit of like messing around with like electronic drums, piano, just so I could practice recording things.
Yeah.
I thought it was music at first, but it was just recording things. And then I kind of got into doing some sound design and kind of putting sound to picture. That was my intro into a video as in my adulthood. Was I took the sound avenue towards it. So I would like record sound effects or collect sound effects, go in the field with some headphones on, some good microphones, go up to a stream, listen to some water.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's so sick,
You
dude.
and I are like that. I love stuff like
I
that.
love stuff like that. And then not only, and then to the next level, I would take like maybe one stream. I like the sound of like how the water hits the rocks over here. But there's like some different splashing over here.
Yeah.
And I'll take like these layers and I'd put them together and I'd make one single brook or stream that literally doesn't exist. And I'll kind of compile things and then I'll filter out different frequencies of like some deeper end rumbles and some stuff. It's just, I really enjoyed doing that. It was kind of like, you have to be present. You have to be creative a little bit. And there's like, it's kind of a little bit of foolery too, because with sound design, so much of your subconscious and how you perceive characters and objects and different things, like it's done through sound. Perhaps the evil guy in the show you're watching, his footsteps are a little deeper. And over time, it kind of gives him this darker
Sure.
like understanding of who this character is. And I just thought that was so cool because it's totally like under the radar. They're tricking you.
Subliminal.
Subliminal.
Yeah.
But it's so impactful
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've heard this or someone's heard like, the horror movies aren't so scary without the music or sound effects. They're
Sure.
really not. They're actually silly a little bit, Or
Yeah.
if you played some funny music or like some goofy circus music
Right.
over it, it's like, this is hilarious,
So true.
So that's what I kind of originally fell in love with. And then, obviously as the sound dude for those, you're involved in video,
Yeah.
and then kind of full circle. And dude, I really just think a video with good sound is a good video. Whereas I could watch a bad video with good sound and be chilling. You know what I mean? I'd be
Yeah.
good with that. But if the good video, really crisp video had poor sound, I think it would really pull me out.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Man, I hear you. I've always wanted to disconnect this board and bring it out into the woods and catch the peepers, but not sure I got the right mics and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man.
They have some really like awesome stuff. Have you ever seen the Foley studios and people doing Foley? Do you know what Foley is?
No.
Okay, so this is really sick. This is called a Foley artist. It's a sound artist. It's basically, they have a room. It's a recording studio with like so many props, bizarre props that all just make noise. It's like the hinge that's a little squeaky. They'll keep that. Okay, and they put the show up on the on like a movie projector, and they're got all these microphones towards them, and they hit play on the thing on the video, and they record the sounds they're about to make, and they literally make all the sounds live exactly to what it would be. And they're called Foley artists, and it's so fun. And they have so many different things. Like if you're walking through snow, the person on camera's walking through snow, how are you going to record that sound effect? So they take bags of flour and they mush the flour together. And it kind of gives that like crunching, compacting of like what powder would sound like as you like step in it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Or like, someone breaks their arm in an action movie. They take celery. They get right up to the mic, go snap it.
This is industry.
It's industry, yeah. And it's right, and it's all live. That's what's cool about it is like, so the sound effects are almost literally tailored exactly to the movie or show or video you're watching.
Tom's going to be so blessed to have somebody who really cares about the end product so well with you.
Yeah.
You're so dialed into this. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're perfectionist?
I'm not a perfectionist. I think Abby's more of a perfectionist than I am. It's so hard, man, because like you could get caught up on changing absolutely everything to make it perfect. It'll never be perfect. It really won't be perfect. You'll always be tweaking the color. You'll always be adjusting the volume. You'll always be trying to, know, and especially in today's day and age where you got to turn content out, right?
Yeah, you're wasting time.
Bro, you're wasting time, dude. That thing's old news.
Yeah.
We need new stuff. So, like, you have to make it good. You have to make it, I don't want to say good enough, right? Because I don't want to sound like I'm setting the bar low. But at the same time, we got stuff to do. We got more stuff to get. That's old news.
Sure.
So you have to be, you have to find the balance there. Yeah.
What's up with your shirt, Sergeant Brazilian?
I train jiu-jitsu.
Let's talk about that. Does Abby get into that?
You know how to tell if someone trains jiu-jitsu?
How's that?
Don't worry, they'll tell you. They'll just tell you. Because they love talking about jiu-jitsu, which is me. I love talking about jiu-jitsu.
Rex Thompson
Yeah.
is a friend of mine. He comes in here every Friday morning.
Yeah, I see him on the show.
Yeah, and Donnybrook Fight Promotions, and just loves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's all he wants to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
There's something up with you guys. I don't know if you've been hit in the head or what the hell's going
Probably
on with
a little
you.
bit.
But there's something going on with you guys where you're just like, this is, how long you been doing this?
So I've been training jiu-jitsu for like 5 years, but I've gone all in. I'm training up to maybe even 11 times a week. And that sounds gnarly. I'm always on the mats, dude. I was on the mats. I had 3 classes yesterday. And that's just what I do. I love it. I'm training tonight.
You
I'm
training
training
Abby?
all the time. I wish I'll train Abby. She's not there yet.
Okay.
She's not there yet.
Not into...
Soon. She used to train a little bit when she was younger, but...
All right. But just, that's not her bag.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yet.
No, 100%. Not yet.
We're saying yet.
Correct.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, but jiu-jitsu is fantastic.
And this is obviously something that you have in common with Tom.
100%.
Do you guys get together and watch UFC?
We watch UFC together. I think he steals my ESPN Plus account.
Probably does.
So he grabs that from me. Hey, did you order the fights last night? Okay, I'm gonna log in. What's your password? Yeah, all right.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
But no, he actually started. When we first started, so he had a bunch of mats from his youth and his history and past and stuff. And when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I was a bartender, and during COVID, and I was by myself a lot because not a lot of people working at that time, so I was a single person in a bar into the late hours of the evening.
Yeah.
Now, also, the bar I worked at wasn't a real divey bar. It was a pretty nice bar. However, all the other bars were shut down. So all the clientele who wanted to be at a bar was at a bar, and we were the only bar open. Okay, so there were some not bad situations, but there was like an air of unsureness. I never had trained any martial art or anything in my life, and I was out of shape as well. And, nothing happened, but I was wondering, like, had something happened in those times, those late hours of the morning or early hours of the morning, whatever we call it, like 2 a.m., and I was by myself, would I be ready for that situation? Like, to take care of myself or protect someone or escort someone out. We didn't even have a bouncer, So that's what kind of got me into it. I knew Tom had the mats and obviously had experience. So I just kind of asked him about it, and we set some mats up in the basement underneath the bar, kind of like, honestly, like Fight Club, honestly, like underground, literally underground on the DL. And during a pandemic where, it is what it is. And yeah, it was sick. And there was just something kind of secretive and cool. And, dude, so that was after about a couple months of me training jiu-jitsu, I kind of talked Tom into letting me take down some walls and basically knocking down like 4 walls and expanding the mats. Still underground, still super secretive. You need 2 keys to get in here, or you need to know the special knock on the door will let you in.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, it was sick. And
I
then
love that.
Oh, it's so sick. Such a sick part of history. And then it grew, and we decided to make it public. So now we're in St. Albans, called The Club, and we train. We got a bigger place, and it's pretty sick. And I actually have kids programs now, beginners programs now that I'm working with. And, dude, you said this stuff goes hand in hand with Sweethearts and Heroes. So many ways, man. The Sweethearts and Heroes, I've tried to incorporate a lot of their stuff into how I formulate these classes just because I've seen how well it works in terms of learning, right? And Pat will tell you, Tom will tell you, everyone will tell you, play is how you learn, right? And Tom's been a huge mentor with me on kind of my own venture of like trying to do this kids jiu-jitsu thing. He's been a huge supporter and stuff, and I've just literally tried to listen to everything he said about and keeping the classes playful. All this stuff, and I have my doubts. Like, are they learning anything? We're just playing games. Like, they can't be learning anything.
Sure.
I'm thinking they're not. And then when push comes to shove, and they're actually learning so much, it astonishes me because I'm like, how? How do you remember this? I showed you this one time, and then we played freeze tag. Yeah. How do you remember this?
Sure.
But dude, and a lot of the times I literally steal their formula. I get them going first. We start with dodgeball. Most people end with dodgeball. It's like that's your
reward.
Yes, that's your reward. You've been good today. You can throw. I start with dodgeball. It's the same formula as circle. So this is what my teen class looks like. First of all, I've mixed ages. I have 4-year-olds to 9-year-olds. That's quite the range of developmental ages.
Sure.
There's not a classroom in America that's a 4-year-old to a 9-year-old.
Big time. Yeah.
But you look at what Sweethearts and Heroes does with their Braves program, where you have these high schoolers and older kids going down to these younger students.
Yeah.
That's where the meaningful connection happens, modeling of like social norms happen, everything in this age-mixed learning, age-mixed play.
Well, these kids are watching, they're watching you, and they're watching others with Sweethearts and Heroes, but they're also watching their peers. Especially the older kids.
Yeah.
The younger kids are watching the older kids.
That's exactly what they're doing. And you see it in schools with Sweethearts and Heroes, and I basically kind of tested it. I really put it under like my own like test, if you will. Not that I'm like a scientist or anything, but and it's just so evident that that's how it works. And we basically do an activity first, an activator, and then we circle up and we talk. We ask a question. I let them come up with a question. Right, like how Pat does, like how Tom does with circle and stuff, and it's just so awesome to see this. These are human skills. Sweethearts and Heroes has human skills. It's not just school stuff. Like anyone, and this is just kind of cool because so I've taken this right for this little mini example. I've taken this and I've kind of applied their model to how I'm running my business, right, my gym, whatever we call it. Anyone can do that with their business or restaurant or anything. And it'll literally just make it better. And a place you want to work, a place that you like, a place that you feel like cares about you, and therefore you care about it, and you want to try your hardest to make it the best it can be. Instead of just being like, clock in, clock out, take advantage of this. I'm doing, you know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah.
It's just so, yeah.
I want to ask you,
schools.
I want to ask you, and I can't help but wonder. So I'm going to ask you a personal question. How old are you?
I am 29.
Are you a dad? I
am not a dad.
Do you aspire to be a dad? Do you dream of being a dad?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't say I dream of it, but I do smile when I think of the idea and the possibilities of trying to teach or help or train a little person.
Or bring someone into this absolutely insane world.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting to toy with, that idea, and wonder on how it's going to work out. And, I wish I could, and and I like that. And I like seeing people kind of, I don't know, get helped by kind of something that might have, I might have had a hand in. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I became a dad much later in life. I was 43 when Lily was born, and man, it is a constant job.
I could imagine.
I mean, kids just have, and the older they get, the more complex it seems to get, where you need to be on your toes. And I'm sure, I shouldn't assume, but it seems like it would be easy for you to be in what you do for Sweethearts and Heroes at 29 years old, seeing, hearing, experiencing what you're experiencing with these schools, to imagine yourself as a father
Yeah.
and how you would react if that was your kid who said that or felt that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
What you're
cool.
seeing in your camera.
Yeah. No, I know. I think it's helped me a lot, and I think it is kind of simulated slowly my own personal journey into maybe being a father someday.
Yeah.
I definitely think so. And even with jiu-jitsu, I get that question a lot, like, "Oh, do you have kids? Wait, you're gonna be a great dad." They say this, and it's like I joke with them. It's like I get to give them back after an hour.
Yes.
I can be a good dad for an hour.
Sure.
Like I joke with them. But it's funny that you said that you had Lily
Yes.
later in life. I don't think that's a bad thing, man. I think that's pretty sweet. We were just talking to Peter Hawk is his name, and he is the runner of this organization called Flying Ryan organization. His son, Ryan Hawk, from Vermont, phenomenal skier, just tore it up, like world class, bombing hills, sending flips, all this stuff, traveling all around the world, California, competing, and just absolutely representing Vermont and just crushing it. And unfortunately, fortunately, he took a spill, and anyways, they ended up having to pull the plug, or and it is what it is. But Peter, the reason why I went into this was because Peter was like 50 when he had his son. And I think it's interesting because I think the older the father is when they have their child, it almost makes their child more of like one of those old souls. Do you know what I'm talking about? And because Ryan was very like kind of mature. He had fun, he had fun, and he also did some things that would surprise you as a child, as like a 25-year-old young person. I don't know. I just think there's something to having like that older father figure in your life, and you never know the impact that has. And I almost think it's worth like, cause you got to let your stuff settle. You know what I mean? And like, once you get a little older and you've kind of gone through the angst and the young, like testosterone filled, quick to rage kind of like, stick it to the man kind of, I think thing, which is natural. Once you've kind of gone over that hill and you've gained some wisdom and made your mistakes, I think, honestly, that's the time to do it, to raise a child.
It is so interesting to hear that. Wow. What are you hoping to do with your career? What is the next thing that you want to do, either with Sweethearts and Heroes or beyond?
Yeah. Well, I think definitely just reflecting. I've liked helping people. I liked teaching people, and I didn't know that's what I liked. But as I look backwards, I do see that's the pattern now. I used to teach snowboarding for about 10 years. I got hired as a snowboard instructor when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
So I was kind of like formally trained to teach at a young age. And I did that for like 10 years, went to school, did the restaurant thing, was a bartender, did a cook. As a cook, I was like the leader of the kitchen for a little bit. And I was teaching high school students how to chop onions safely, how to kind of, hey man, it's important to work hard, and don't you quit on me now, dude. If you quit on me, you're quitting on all of us.
Yeah, we're
screwed. And I don't know. So I'd like to think that those mini lessons are something that are pretty applicable to their entire lives and how they approach lives.
It's a great mindset.
Yeah, it's a great mindset. Jiu-jitsu, teaching, all ages, Sweethearts and Heroes, filming, interacting with these students, talking to them, listening to them. I think for this next year, the plan is for me to start helping and being not in front of the camera, but maybe without a camera in these schools.
Yeah.
And kind of working with students, taking them through our STEP program. Just some local schools where I grew up. Actually, my elementary and middle school, which is going to be a trip, man. That's going to be a trip because...
What school?
This is Georgia Elementary and Middle School. Now,
right here in Vermont.
Right here in Vermont, correct, yeah. And, and I was saying this to Tom. I was like, the first time I went back, it's like, oh, dude, awkward. I'm like cringing as I'm walking through the halls because I used to be a little rascal. You know what I mean? In those schools, I would do stuff. I got voted the class clown.
Capital R on that rascal?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Capital R. And my parents both worked for the district, so I never really got held accountable for some of my shenanigans. Because I would always joke, like, my mom's the one who pays you. Stupid joke.
Ooh.
Like, I would, and they knew it, you know, like, teachers knew it. So I don't know if I necessarily got the fair treatment of getting in trouble. But in hindsight, I was a kid, man. Like, you know, so when I walked through these halls, it's like, I remember being in that classroom, getting in trouble there, you know. And and I was talking to Tom about it. I said, oh, man, I could do this step thing where I go back and do this schools. But then I said to him, it's just kind of awkward because, you know, I wasn't really a model student. And he's the one who brought it up to me. He said, what a beautiful story. How you were an influencer. I influenced people 100%.
Yeah.
I was not an unpopular kid. I had a ton of friends. We were having fun, you know, but perhaps I didn't lead them the right way. And I was celebrated. This is what's interesting when we talk about celebrating students. I was celebrated for being the class clown. Dude, when I got nominated and won that as a little 8th grader, that was huge, dude.
Sure.
Sick. What am I doing in high school?
Is that still on your resume?
It should be. You know what? It should be, actually.
Yeah.
You know, but at the time, it's like, that's like a massive, like, I don't know, you feel important.
Yeah.
But you might be, you know, like almost pinning that kid into that role in a way. And then you need to be celebrated for something different or maybe something productive to kind of break that cycle or to kind of like avoid it. Like, could you be the class clown and be productive? And Tom was just basically saying to me, like, it's just a beautiful story, the character arc of that. Now you're returning into this school, promoting something different based on who you used to be. It's really the Sweethearts and Heroes message kind of, that's the big picture, man. That's like the loop. That's like part of that loop. So it's kind of changed my approach to it. I'm embracing that new step, no pun intended, into this.
Isn't it refreshing, at the very least, to working with Tom, that the way he's wired is no matter what it is that you say, that he looks at it as a gift. Whatever your experience is, whatever your story is, he's like, yeah, that's usable. That's teachable. That's a gift. That's valuable.
Yeah.
Even if it's something that's frankly horrible.
Yeah.
That you're going through.
Exactly. That's Tom and that's Rick. Look at both of them. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
And you know, if you've got, you know, it's kind of interesting because if you just say good to something, you know, and you just start there and kind of approach all other thoughts or actions through that lens,
sure,
then what bad could it be? It couldn't be, you know, because you've started it in good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the same thing with Tom, like over the past, I mean, I hear you ask people on here, like, you know, Tom's always doing something. He doesn't stop working. And,
sure.
And like, in a way, that's good too, you know, because like if every idea you have, you say no to, like in a way, that's not very, you know, that's not growing.
Right.
If you say yes and toy with the idea and play with it, you know, I just think sometimes we ourselves can be our own kind of filters or barriers.
Yes.
And if it's either bad or no, that's where you want to start.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be tough to get off that platform.
Yeah.
But if you start with like yes or good, now what? Like, I don't know. I just feel
or
like,
even maybe.
Or even maybe is a better step. Maybe is cool because maybe's fluid. You have options at maybe, dude.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not boxing yourself in. If you immediately say no or bad, like, I don't know. And that's hard, man, because it's human nature to kind of like, I don't know.
Sure.
Like, we don't have enough. It's like, but it's stressful, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
I was in my first Tom Murphy circle. I mean, there's circles, and then there's a Tom Murphy circle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I know. He collects the tears of children.
Oh, God. And it was an experience.
Yeah.
you know, and I was able to podcast a little bit with some of the students there at Peru.
I know. It was an awesome episode.
And I was like, have fun. Interrupt. Let it go.
Yeah.
And they were like, no. These are our rules now.
Yep.
Whoever has the microphone is speaking. And if you don't have the microphone, zip it. I'm not used to that, bud.
I know.
That was very difficult for me to sit there, listen to not just 2 or 3 people, but several people. And I'm a naturally
I know.
inquisitive guy. I got questions. I got follow-up questions here, tons.
Yeah.
And it was so hard for me to sit and force myself to listen. But I had to. And Tom's like, you're not understanding this, Bob. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
It's about listening. It's not about learning more and asking questions and stuff. That was very hard for me.
Yeah. I could imagine so.
I'm like, I got 3 follow-up questions for this dude.
Yeah.
I got 3 or 4 follow-up questions for that one. How am I going to memorize all this stuff by the time this whole circle thing is over?
Yeah. You know, that's such a great point. That's such a great point because that happens to me too. I think we're similar in that respect in terms of like we want to keep the conversation going, evolving. I do it out of learning, but I also kind of feel like I do it out of a social obligation as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Kind
Sure,
of.
right.
And then in regards to this, it's almost like, you know, I used to do a radio show back in college and like I would always get kind of flack for maybe allowing too much dead air or something. So I would kind of be trained to fill stuff.
Phil.
You know? And then in circle, like when you have follow-up questions and you're like, bro, I got 3 for you. I have 3 things. I got 2 for you. It's like, one, I think, first of all, you get muddied up in your own conscience and trying to sort and memorize instead of just being. That's tricky to break. You know what I'm saying? But it's important. It's crucial for the circle to work. And it'll happen as you practice it because listening is a skill. It truly is a skill.
Oh.
It truly is a skill. And then also, by the time that thing gets around to you, even if you remember it all, socially, you're not going to ask everyone those questions. You're not just going to dump it out. You might ask like 1 or 2. So I think it also promotes like really what's important and let's fire those. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Instead of just blasting everyone all this stuff,
Right.
which is what happens all the time, dude. Like
I know.
all the time. It's just produce, consume. It can be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And perhaps some of the meaning and actual deliberate I have something to say to you after. Some of the deliberate like choosing, you know, it might fall to the wayside if you're not super, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Kind of like that.
Totally.
And I think it's worth exploring.
Tell me what you were going to say.
Okay, yeah, you said you had 4 R's on this podcast.
Yeah.
Bro, I disagree with you. I think real is the one. You said relatable. But I think if you are real, you will relate.
Real is the first one.
Yes.
Okay, you think that's the most important one?
I would think so. I would think so. I mean, I think, you know, that's the reason why I said real is because I think real is the most important one. Because how can you be relatable if you're not real, man?
Okay.
You know, I think everything channels through that. Do you know what I mean? Kind of.
I do.
You're pretty real, so that's why I relate to you.
You know, Tom said to me when I was when I was all done in Peru, dude, call me. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Entering into the world of Tom Murphy. Yeah. I know he's going to pummel me with questions. But he only had really one question, which was, what'd you think?
Of course. What a great question for real.
I know.
What a great question.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to tell him what I think, and he's like, yeah. But what's like the real big takeaway that you had from Circle? And I said that it was very difficult for me to listen and to not get answers to the questions, the follow-up questions that I had. And he said, yeah, I know. But what's even bigger than that? And I had to stop and think to myself, and I'm like, I think the biggest thing is that I remember every single story that was shared by those kids that went around the circle. I remembered them. I still remember them. Maybe their stories would not have resonated or have been remembered as well by me. Maybe they would be clouded a little bit or diluted if I were to get all of the answers to my follow-up questions. But just to shut up and be quiet and listen, there's only one direction, and it's from them to your ears. It's not reciprocal. And I think, I don't know, I think that was one of the big things, is that I was forced to be quiet, which is the absolute opposite of what I do here. Yeah. I encourage interrupting and engagement that way.
Yeah. There's so much to be, said and thought about that, man. Like, I like to play with that idea as well. And I think, like, dude, like, if I only, understood or tried to understand, like, myself and my own stories, like, do you know the smallest little fraction of the human experience I've been involved in? Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Kind of like,
sure.
So, like, when I listen to other people's stories, and even this series we're about to start cranking on called Forged Through Hope, which is a real powerful, like, super top secret, but
Forged
Through Hope, man.
Through Hope.
Yeah, and it's basically, I'll just tell you what it is. It's like, we view some of our struggles, which are very, very much considered in the struggle category. And instead of letting that just destroy us and squish us down and put our fire out, essentially what Forged Through Hope is we take that, we travel through those stories and those experiences, and then we come out on the other side way stronger than the person we were when we went in. And we were forged, hard, unpleasant environment, very, very, very extreme scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
And the tool that we are, like the hardness of us, the hope, the resiliency in every, attribute when we come out of those circumstances, we leverage into being better. And that's essentially what we're trying to capture on camera right now through these interview series that we're doing. And where I was going with this is, doing this, listening to these stories, whether it be Circle or behind the camera in my scenario right now, like, you're getting so much experience of other humans' experience, in condition, that I am fortunate enough to never have gone through some of these things even remotely close.
Sure.
Like, take Rick, for example, man.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that's wild. The week or two before he says to his friend, literally, I'm not sure if he said this to you. I think he said this to you, but it's out in the open. He said, if I ever lose my leg, I want you to kill me.
Yeah.
He said it to his buddy.
I remember him saying that. Yeah.
And he meant it.
He meant it.
Because he's seeing all these people, and then it's like, hey, dude, now what? And then and Rick, you heard it. He's way better now than he has ever been, way stronger. And look at all the people he's impacting. Haley, for example, complete derivative right from Rick. You know what I'm saying? And this is the chain, this is the contagion of this hope. Your struggles don't necessarily define you, but they do build you and they do make you. And that's what's kind of cool about it. And, that's what I like. And that's, I think it's very poetic in a way and very much a good kind of mindset, instead of instead of looking at it as in a negative window.
We talked about what happened to me versus what happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
One of Rick's greatest gifts, I think, and I think he knows this. I think anyone that knows Rick knows this, is time. Time has allowed him the amazing gift of being able to look back in perspective and say, I'm glad this happened for me.
Yeah.
I'm better because of it. I'm a different person. I'm at the time, and Rick was saying this at the time, nothing could have possibly been worse.
No.
How is there anything good about this or could become good about this? And here he is looking back saying, what a great gift. Look at, you know what I've won? I've won time. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. That's such a bizarre concept, time. Like, and in Rick's scenario, some traumas are strung out throughout time, like, maybe abusive relationships or
Sure.
drug addiction or something. But Rick's was instantaneous.
Sure, right.
And then all the time it takes to recover from it. And, and that's with everything. Time is so bizarre, man. What a bizarre, even concept. It's just bizarre.
If you're not familiar with Rick, Rick Yarish is one of the team members, one of the family members of Sweethearts and Heroes, who was blown up out of a Bradley tank during the war out in the Middle East, and was covered in diesel fuel and was burning alive.
And then, it doesn't even stop there. And then he rolled into, a sewer pit.
Yeah.
And then, it's
it broke his leg from jumping out of the, or falling out of the,
right?
10 feet high out of this Bradley vehicle. I mean,
and it's always an and then with that story, man. And it's just like, whoa, whoa. And then when you hear that, as someone who's feeling maybe down on yourself or thinking it's the end of the road for you, any age, that's another thing. It's any age. It's not just children. It's adults. It's linemen in America. It's other veterans. It's, dude, it's the human existence.
Yes.
When you hear Rick's story or ones like it, you realize that there still is an and then for yourself. And you might want to, and there's a road to recovery, whatever that may be, and hold on. The possibilities do exist.
Yes.
Which involves time, the bizarre concept of, just keep letting it tick and keep trying, don't give up. Hold on. Holding on to something's an action, man. If you really break this down, that's an act. That's a choice of literally, I'm not letting go. It's will. It's will.
Yeah, it's will.
It's action. It's effort. And possibilities is trust and faith, I would say. And they exist. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just so deep, that one acronym. You know how Tom loves acronyms, but dude, it's so deep. There's so much packed in there if you really think about holding on to the possibilities that exist. They exist. They're there.
And sometimes for many of us, this can be this can be something that we have to be saying to ourselves out loud, almost every minute of the day.
Yeah.
For some of us.
Probably until it becomes instinctual or habit, or maybe it never will be, and it's a good practice to just do.
Yeah.
I think you're right with that, man.
Speaking of linemen, Northline Utilities, Nathan Boatwell is going to be in here on the tail end of the month, last Wednesday of July. So,
all right, right on.
Looking forward to that.
Sweet. No, that'll be a great show, man. It's some of the stuff that those guys do. We put a little clip together. Abby and I worked on a little video for a presentation Tom was doing, and man, some of the predicaments that they're in their career.
A lot of untold stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then leaving your family for long periods of time and just so much stuff, so much stressful environments. It's wow, wild.
Rick's going to be back pretty soon. Josiah is going to be on the air with us as well. Brian is going to be on with us, I think, next Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff going on with you guys, man.
Yeah, nice.
It's going to be fantastic. Thank you ever so much for getting in here. Thanks to Abby. Thanks to Tom. Thanks to all of you for having the amazing impacts that you continue to do and continue to have on so many people. Not just kids, man.
Dude, I hope not.
Not just kids.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, guys.